You're listening to Alabama Tradition with Ryan Fowler and Martin Houston on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
So we welcome you into Alabama Tradition, the past, present, and future of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Martin Houston not with me tonight. He is actually preaching revival, and will be in revival all of this week. So if you have a chance to check him out, do that. I know he streams a lot of his stuff on Facebook. He was in revival last night, and Martin being a pastor of the Word, he'll be doing that tonight. So we'll let him get a big forgiveness here, talking about Alabama and Ole Miss. And we'll talk about it right here with your phone calls. We'll do our Dreamland Score Prediction Day. And we'd ask that you try to get these in today because tomorrow's going to be very, very busy. And we'll take your calls, 205-342-9904. We will talk to William Barcher coming up at 6:15. We'll have a chance to talk with the former offensive lineman at the University of Alabama. We'll continue right here. Let's go to Robert in Mobile. Robert, good afternoon, man. You're in the game.
Hey, man.
How are you?
Well, since Martin's out preaching the word, I guess we'll cut him some slack for not showing up this Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll give him.
But just this once.
Yeah, we'll give him forgiveness on this one. Yeah, we're going to give him a mulligan. So,
hey, I had to take issue with one of your guests you had on your show today.
Okay, which one?
I forgot the one who said that Matt Corral was by far the best quarterback in college football. It wasn't even close. Oh no, my friend, it is close. If you want to make the case he is, it is close. Don't say he's just head and shoulders way above Bryce Young, and Bryce Young's not even in his neighborhood. You can pick either or could be the best quarterback in college football.
Sure.
And you look at the numbers, Bryce has more touchdowns than Matt Corral. Even with Matt Corral's week off, well, I mean, he's only got 9 touchdowns, but Bryce Young has 15. So that's a huge difference, even if you want to take into account Matt Corral's week off. He's not going to I doubt he gets 6 touchdowns, especially not in his next game. So that's not even close comment. That's I don't know where you get that from.
Say what?
Corral's got 5 rushing touchdowns too, by the way.
Well, and he is, and both these kids are from California, and when you think about California kids coming to the SEC to play football, hey, Matt Corral's a big time quarterback. Listen,
yeah.
When you look at earning a Heisman vote, he'll walk out if he's able to come to Tuscaloosa, and let's say that he beats Alabama, he's probably going to get a lot of votes. If he comes to Tuscaloosa and he lays it on Alabama, I mean, it'll be hard for myself, not to vote for him if he continues this trend. I want to see.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure, I want to see the best player against the best player, and so.
To say that it's not close, that what kind of got me. Well, come on now. There's a lot of even the Fresno State quarterback. You can at least make a case for him. It is close.
Sure.
And there are other quarterbacks that are in Matt Corral's zip code, and Bryce Young is one of them. And a lot of us believe, this could be everyone knows the person who wins this game will be the Heisman front runner. At that point, it will be theirs to lose. They'll have to have a bad game or have a bad series of games to lose it after that point.
Sure.
But this is for a lot of marbles here. I think again it's for the SEC West, who comes out of the SEC West. Because the other one will have to hope the other team loses twice. And I wouldn't bet on if Ole Miss comes in here and wins in Tuscaloosa, I wouldn't bet on them losing twice against anybody. So this thing could be higher.
Let me look at that Ole Miss schedule just real quick. Let's just look at it because I mean definitely the trip to Tuscaloosa is the biggest. They do have to. Wow, you get in a physical game with Alabama, and then you got to go play Arkansas. Then they got to go to Tennessee, LSU at home. Arkansas is at home too. Is in Knoxville, LSU at home. Then they go to the Cal College across the state. Then they got Liberty coming to town, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. Ole Miss is probably losing one game.
Yeah, we would need them to lose two.
Yeah, so you're right.
One would be real. I think it would be a push. You come in and win in Tuscaloosa against this team. Well, I'm not seeing a whole lot of teams left in the SEC or the college football that can beat you, other than maybe Georgia. So yeah, so the stakes of this game couldn't be higher. Like because they keep saying, that's why these players come here playing games like this.
Right.
This is one of the biggest games of the year. I mean, the next biggest game of the year will be the SEC championship game, and the other two games, including unless the same SEC teams meet again in the national championship game, will come close to these games that are being played in the SEC this year. The SEC is the best conference, and once again, it's showing. So, but it is close, and I'd say this is beyond close. Bryce Young is on Matt Corral's level in this point, in this stage of the game. He would be. Yeah.
Robert, you and I were big Tua fans. We were huge Tua fans. I remember you calling, and we talked a lot about Tua. I think Bryce Young, if he stays on this path right now, and he's able to not have a severe injury that cost him a couple of games, I think he may walk out of here the best quarterback in the Nick Saban era. I think he's that good.
Yeah, like I said, it'll be the history of Alabama football in that case too. Because the best quarterback in Nick Saban era, you're the best quarterback in Alabama football in the history of Alabama football. Because Nick Saban is producing the best quarterbacks in the history of Alabama football. None of the quarterbacks in the past can compare to these guys today. It's just a different era, I know, but I mean, it is what it is. So yeah. I mean, we all said, Bryce Young's ceiling is again that high. Right now, my mind is Mac Jones, but he could exceed him. Which I wasn't looking for Bryce Young to do that this year. I mean, I wouldn't put that kind of an expectation on. But he's continuing to produce, and the ceiling is that high. And you can say, really, again, Bryce Young's having to do it against much tougher competition too this season. Because the SEC is much tougher this season than it was last year.
Well,
it's a whole lot tougher.
Think about it next year. There'll be two teammates that'll be battling for that number one spot. Right? You got Will Anderson.
What number one spot?
Yeah, the number one draft pick. You got Will Anderson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Bryce Young, right? I mean, I know it's really putting the cart before the horse, but I mean, think about it. I mean, you may have 1 and 2 here in Tuscaloosa. I mean, if they continue, I'm not saying, listen, Bryce Young's got a lot of work to do between now and then. But if this trend continues, Will Anderson's going to be right there, and Bryce could earn his way into there.
Yeah, you have to say Mr. Anderson with the Matrix voice when you say, well, that's a guy on YouTube that calls him Mr. Anderson. I like that. That's pretty good.
Mr.
I hope
Anderson.
he wants to take that up.
I like that.
For the I like that too. Hopefully he'll catch hold of that. Well, that's definitely good for Will Anderson. He's definitely Mr. Anderson. There's no question about it. Hey, but going back to Ole Miss real quick. I talked to Martin this morning, and he was one that said, well, should Alabama fans be worried? And, of course, Ole Miss is a team that's worth worrying about. They're that good right now. So, as in, they can beat you if you don't play the right game. Now, I've heard some of the scores your calls have given in. Some of them get pretty high. I think the last one, 48 was what he said? If we go 48 points, then we're all over Pete Golding next week again. So, Pete, you better not give up 48 points.
Yeah.
If you do, even a victory, that's not good.
Hey, Robert, give me a score, man. What do you think?
Okay, so I think Pete Golding will rise to the occasion, and against a team like Ole Miss, anything under 30 is an excellent defensive performance. I will go 28-52, 52-28.
All right, 52-28. Bryce Young and Matt Corral combined passing numbers, passing yards.
So I'm guessing 900 has already been taken.
Super Joe had 998.
998. Okay, now 998 has already been taken. So I'll go 652.
Got it. Thank you, Robert. I hope you have a great day, man.
All right, man.
Robert in Mobile, we appreciate him. Let's go to Bama Jam out in Texas. Bama Jam, good afternoon. You're in the game. Bama Jam? Nope. We are really struggling. Nope. Still no. Yeah, I can put you back on hold and come back to you.
What about now?
It's weak.
Weak signal?
Well, just you're sounding really, really. I mean, if you want to give me a score real quick, I mean, maybe I can try to read it.
52-38.
52-38. Give me combined passing numbers.
725.
725. I got it. Thank you, Bama Jam.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Bryce. Mr. Bryce, good afternoon. You're in the game. Hello? No Bryce? Was that Bryce Young calling in? Is that what? Ram. Good afternoon, Ram. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan, my portable phone's about to go out, so let me give you my score real quick. 48 Bama, 30 Ole Miss, 611 yards.
All right, 48-30 and 611 yards.
Yes, sir. That's it.
48-30. I got it, man. Thank you, Ram.
Thank you, Ryan.
That's Ram and McCalla. We're going to William Barger. He's next in Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You are listening to Alabama Tradition with Martin Houston and Ryan Fowler. Your connection to Tuscaloosa and the University of Alabama Athletics on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
I paid the tab and the lady asked me how'd I like my biscuit. I'll be honest with you, ma'am, it ain't like mama fixed it. 'Cause where I come from, it's cornbread and chicken. Where I come from, a lot of front porch picking. Where I come from, trying to make a living and working hard to get to heaven. Where I come from. I was chasing sun on 101 somewhere around Ventura. I lost the university.
All right, so we welcome you back in, and it's just me tonight. Martin is preaching revival. I've said teaching twice now. He's preaching revival tonight, so Martin's off tonight. He'll be back with me next Tuesday. We're going to actually join right here by one of his teammates back in the early 90s at the University of Alabama, and we welcome in with a great honor William Barger. William, I hope you're having a great day. Welcome in to Alabama Tradition.
Look, Ryan, I feel like I've been misled. If there's no hee-haw, I'm hanging up.
Oh, yeah, see, I did that on purpose, man. I did that on purpose. I didn't want to tell you that he was not here. So, I had to tease you into it, and I'm glad we're able to catch up and kind of get a little bit of evaluation. Before we move to Ole Miss and Alabama, I just want you to kind of look back, and let's start with the offensive line. That was a specialty. That's something that you do great. You evaluate all parts great, but you played that position. Give me an evaluation of this offensive line 4 games in.
Well, I think, last weekend versus Southern Miss is what I would label a get-right game. And, I think the offensive line made some improvement. Looked like the communication was better, and, maybe that gelling factor starting to take place a little bit. Certainly there's going to be an uptick in competition this weekend with an SEC team like Ole Miss coming to Tuscaloosa. But, I think that, a lot of the criticism, that you've seen directed on both sides of the football so far this season has been a little bit, unwarranted. I mean, that was a tough place to go into, 2 Saturdays ago down in the swamp with a first-year starter at quarterback and, rebuilt offensive line, a lot of new skill players. And, I thought that's one of those deals where, you just, try and survive and advance. And there's going to be a couple of games like that, in each season when you look back on it after the year's over with. And, this Saturday may be another one.
When you think about this team, is it fair to say that they're much better at pass protection than they are run blocking?
I would say up until this point in the season, it's kind of been a mixed bag.
Okay.
As far as the run blocking goes, they did pretty well versus Miami and, kind of hit a buzzsaw down there in the swamp. Now, when you face a Todd Grantham defense, there's going to be a lot of stunning, a lot of slants. And, that always causes a little bit of problems up front, especially till you can, kind of figure it out and get the communication where it needs to be. But, I think so far when you just kind of look at, what this team is, I think Coach Saban really, put it into perspective quite well in his press conference yesterday. There's only 2 seniors on the leadership council. And so, this is a very young team and, they're having to build each week that leadership and, that chemistry in the locker room. And, we were having the same conversation last year. People were complaining about the defense, especially about, after the Ole Miss game. And, you saw everything get right with that side of the ball, once they got deep into the schedule into November.
Well, and I think just so many of us, and I'm including myself in this category. I mean, you go back after last year of what that offensive line was able to do, and Deontay Brown and Landon Dickerson and Alex Leatherwood. I think maybe one of the most underappreciated guys may have been Brown. He was a tone setter. Landon Dickerson as well. Alex. Those guys are all quality players, and will be. For some time on Sunday afternoon. And I guess maybe I just thought, Doug Marrone coming from the NFL, it's going to be a perfect offensive line. And that's just maybe me with over-expecting.
Well, I think you kind of have to look at what you had last year. When you throw Evan Neal into the mix, you had, 2 first-rounders, a guy that probably would have gone in the first round in Landon Dickerson without the injury concern, and, some mid-round guys. It remains to be seen if there's going to be another first-rounder off of the 2021 offensive line besides Evan Neal. That's kind of still to be determined. I'm not saying it can't happen, but you just don't have those guys that scream off the page at you like some of those names that you just mentioned off of the 2020 O-line.
Your evaluation of Bryce Young so far, 4 games in?
Can't say enough positive things about the young man, Ryan. Through 4 games, he's thrown 3 more touchdown passes, than Tua Tagovailoa and Mac Jones did through their first 4 starts. He's doing it with a 72% accuracy rate. Was basically flawless from an interception standpoint. I thought the one Saturday night wasn't really his fault actually, but just can't say enough about the guy that I think's actually. Having to take the bull by the horns and be the leader on the offensive side of the football. You can kind of see that grow, each and every Saturday. But, the way that guy buys time in the pocket, the way he, keeps his eyes focused downfield, I think he's actually in the midst of building something that could be pretty nasty and unstoppable. Now that Jaleel Billingsley is out of the doghouse, I think you're going to see a lot more 12 personnel on the field. You saw him kind of get a little bit into it Saturday, with the rollouts and the bootlegs, with both, having Jaleel and Latu on the field at the same time. But I think once they kind of start scratching the surface with the RPO factor, that's just a nightmare for outside linebackers and safeties to have to deal with when you've got, 2 quality tight ends that can kind of stretch a defense.
Well, it's just exciting to watch, Bryce being able to do the things that he's able to do. And I was a huge fan of Tua Tagovailoa. I was a huge fan of Mac Jones. A.J. McCarron won 3 championships, 2 as a starter, 1 as a backup, did what Nick Saban wanted him to do. But I've said today and I said yesterday, if Bryce Young continues on this projection, he'll probably be the best quarterback in this Nick Saban era. I think he's that good.
Well, and I think you have to kind of put an asterisk next to it as well, Brian. I mean, he doesn't have, 3 or 4 first-round draft picks at his disposal at the wide receiver position like Tua and Mac Jones did. And I don't think anybody could have, predicted back in August that, a transfer like Jameson Williams, who's kind of starting to establish himself as, both the alpha at the wide receiver position. I think he's averaging 30 yards a catch right now. But what he was able to do when he was unleashed in the special teams phase Saturday versus Southern Miss.
Well, and the one thing, and I'd love to ask even more people that can help us understand the quarterback position, but the one thing that I notice about Bryce is he makes it through his progressions pretty fast. He doesn't miss reads, but he keeps his eyes down the field, regardless if he has to move the pocket or shift from one way or the other. It's just what he does with those eyes. You can see it. I mean, it jumps off to me. I interviewed his high school coach back in June, July, and he told me, I said, elaborate why he's the best you've ever had in 30-something years of high school coaching. And he highlighted some of these things, but till you see it up personal, it jumps off the page at me, and I don't know anything about playing the position.
Well, I mean, I think if you look at it from the way the Alabama fan base is viewing it, is you almost hear some complaints because it's almost like he refuses to tuck the ball and run it. And rewind 3 or 4 years ago when you had a quarterback like Jalen Hurts that would take off at the drop of a hat, you would think there would be a little bit more of an appreciation factor for what Bryce is attempting to try and do. I mean, he's given those wide receivers, every chance that they possibly have with the amount of time that he's got in the pocket to get open. And, he wants to distribute the ball. You see him do a lot of stuff with checking down to the running backs. You don't really ever see him put that ball in a bad spot where, it's a gimme interception for a defensive back. But, yeah, I think the fact that, he's able to buy himself time and improvise. I mean, I think we've seen, 2 basically shovel passes. I think one versus Miami and one this past Saturday. So, the guy is, hyper-focused on, staying in the pocket and getting the ball and letting the playmakers make the plays. And when you think about, he's not the biggest cat in the world. That's probably the smart decision. I'm sure Bill O'Brien and Nick Saban are coaching him up on that facet every day.
Speaking of Bill O'Brien, how would you evaluate him 4 games in?
I think he's done a great job, Ryan. I still think he's probably sitting on some stuff in his back pocket that we'll probably see Saturday. He's got some really good weapons, some stuff. I mean, I think it's kind of been a wait and see thing. I mean, they had to wait for Billingsley to get right with the team and start doing things, the way they dictate down there, the way the process dictates. I think the biggest surprise, I mean, we kind of saw it start to emerge back in the A-Day game is, what a weapon Cameron Latu, has developed into. And with Brian Robinson being a little dinged up last week, I mean, you basically had, 2 100-yard rushers and Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams. They seem to be a little hesitant, and I don't know if that's because he's still struggling with pass protection, but they've been a little bit slow to implement, Trey Sanders into the mix at running back. But, I think he's got a lot of shiny toys, and he's kind of, weeding his way through the process and figuring out the best way. He's got a great young quarterback that can distribute the football, any part of the field that you want him to. But I've been pleased with what I've seen of him, and I like the fact that he's up there in the press box and kind of, gets that overhead view of what's going on and can relay it down to the sideline.
William, before we move to Alabama and Ole Miss, what's your biggest takeaway from college football? Are we watching super seniors? Is this really that big of an impact in college football as it's kind of made out to be from some of the guys in the media side of things? Just your overall analysis, and I know we don't have time to go into every single detail, but there's just been a lot of big takeaways from college football. I'm just curious what yours is so far.
Well, I mean, I think the biggest takeaway, and you're seeing, a guy, and we'll find out, just exactly what they're made of at noon on Saturday. But, with Arkansas and Sam Pittman's emergence in the West, this is shaping up to be the toughest division in college football. Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, they've got some growing pains over there after losing their starting quarterback. But, I mean, I think Arkansas right now is the early story in college football. They're not the most, nobody's going to sit there and and look at you with a straight face and tell you that Arkansas was more talented last Saturday on paper than Texas A&M. But, those guys, play fast. They're good on both sides of the line of scrimmage. I think they've got a huge dynamic playmaker in KJ Jefferson at quarterback. Hopefully he's 100% for Saturday. But that's been the biggest takeaway, for me so far is, just how challenging the SEC West has become. LSU's, kind of, down a little bit. Things I think are still, in flux down at Auburn with a new coaching staff and, maybe not inheriting the most talented roster that's ever been, at Auburn. But, I just think the West is just a very, very interesting story so far through the first 4 games of the 2021 season.
You almost just wondered, not looking ahead, but whenever Oklahoma and Texas is added, what exactly it'll look like, whether it go pods or whether they, keep the geographical footprint or however they do it. But, I mean, could you imagine if you put Oklahoma and Texas in this side of the division? I mean, it'd be like playing an NFL schedule over here.
No, I mean, I think there's going to have to be some shifting as far as the geography concerned, once they enter the fray. And it'll be interesting to see if they can, get in as fast as some say, maybe, 2023. But it's certainly going to change the landscape of college football. And, and I would say that, probably the other, big story, in college football is it's looking more and more like, maybe Ohio State and Clemson probably aren't going to be, the dynamic college football playoff, teams that they've been the last 5 or 6 years. And another former, Nick Saban assistant is making waves up in the Big Ten as we speak. I mean, it's been a long time, since Michigan State started the season 4-0. Mel Tucker's doing an outstanding job up there in Lansing, Michigan.
Wow. Yeah, you think about it, but it just, you think about Nick Saban and Mel Tucker, that's a good compliment. And I know you're a big fan of Mario Cristobal out on the West Coast with what they're doing at Oregon.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that, certainly, if he keeps on the trajectory that he's on, he got his big signature win a couple weeks ago against Ohio State on the road. But, he's got to, kind of start dominating the Pac-12. I think he's, in the process of having a much more talented roster than the rest of those programs out there that he plays on a week-to-week basis. And, he's got to start treating that league, kind of like a bully. But I do expect whenever, if he keeps doing the things that he's doing, recruiting the way that he's doing, I do expect him to be a guy that's in play for the Alabama head coaching job when Nick Saban, if and when he ever does decide to retire.
All right, let's go to Lane Kiffin. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. You look at the numbers that they've put up, pretty impressive, but they did it against pretty weak competition. Austin Peay, Louisville, and then Tulane. They've scored a lot of points. Nobody doubts that. But how good of a team is this coming in on Saturday?
I guess I've kind of got a different take on Lane than a lot of people do. I know his, swagger and cockiness kind of rubs people the wrong way, but it almost is obvious to me. I mean, he kind of reminds me of a younger version of what Steve Spurrier was in the 90s, down at Florida. I mean, he's a great interview for the media. He's doesn't really play things close to the vest. I mean, he's, uber complimentary of the Alabama program and Coach Saban, I think, for, kind of rehabbing his coaching career and, certainly I think played a big part in him landing a job in the SEC over there at Ole Miss. But, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I think this is going to be by far and away the most hostile environment that Matt Corral's ever had to manage his way through. He's another guy. I think he's the perfect quarterback complement to his head coach. I mean, he's a guy that's, kind of reminds me of Johnny Manziel and the way that he carries himself both on and off the field. Is this going to be his Stephen Garcia, Johnny Manziel moment, versus Alabama Saturday, or is he going to throw 3 interceptions? I don't know if there's going to be a medium ground in between, but this is going to be a tough road test, for Ole Miss. I think, certainly Nick Saban and that coaching staff, saw the scare that they put into them last year with all the points that they were able to, put up on the Alabama defense last year. And I think this is even though it was a win last year, Ryan, I certainly think there's a little bit of a revenge factor involved. I think Nick Saban and Pete Golding are going to want to, kind of right the ship over what was a pretty embarrassing performance last year against Ole Miss.
Well, looking at them for just a couple of minutes, what will be the keys to Alabama having success from Alabama defensive perspective against that offense? What are going to be the keys that you want to glue in early on that game and say, okay, Alabama is dialed in, you feel like that you can have some success against this offense?
Well, I mean, I think you saw a little bit of it Saturday night. I mean, you can't ever predict when you schedule these games, against a school like Southern Miss, who's, kind of fallen off of a cliff from a program standpoint. But, they had a little bit of a nice warm-up, in my opinion, albeit that Southern Miss was more of an option attack, versus Ole Miss being more of a zone read attack. But still, it's assignment defensive football. A guy's got to take the quarterback. Somebody's got to take the dive back on zone reads. They got to be accounted for. Certainly, they present a challenge at something that Alabama's defense has really struggled, for in the passing game for a long time now, and that's defending the middle of the field with their inside linebackers and safeties in the passing game. So, I think Alabama, if they can play sound assignment football on defense, they match up well, with Ole Miss. But, certainly the linebackers have to do a better job in pass coverage. And, the safeties, I think, have to do a better job in the open field of tackling, a pass catcher once they do catch the ball and put them on their backs.
Well, I don't expect you to go and break down Austin Peay or Tulane or Louisville, but I don't know if this defense in Oxford, just comparing the numbers and look at the competition that they've played, the numbers don't show you that they're any better defensively on that side of the football. I think Alabama should have their way with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, the only game that I've watched them play was against Louisville, and, you just don't know how good Louisville really is. But, I mean, they look a little bit improved to me. They've got a couple of transfer players that I think, that DJ Durkin brought in and, look like they have, gotten a little bit more talented at certain positions. Probably, I would say their linebacker positions are probably the strength of that defense. But, yeah, I mean, I think if Alabama's offense executes and, doesn't turn the ball over, I think they're going to, be able to score, somewhere, in the 40-point range. And, it's going to be up to the Alabama defense. This is one of those games, Ryan, that, a field goal might be just as solid for either defense as a punt. Just keeping the other offense out of the end zone from getting, 7 points might be as good as a stop.
Final question. You know anything about Elijah Pritchett, 6'6", 280-pound senior out of Columbus, Georgia, who committed to Alabama? Any evaluation on him?
Well, I know he's got, tree vines for arms. He's got great feet. He bends well. I think he's a very athletic offensive tackle prospect. I think he's, got a chance to, probably put on another 20 pounds of good weight over the course of his career. But, I think he's a great pickup. You can't coach that wingspan and the way he bends and the way he moves. He plays with a nasty streak. I think, you look at it on paper and, he's not a 5-star like you're, used to seeing Alabama, land offensive tackles. But I think, in another year and 18 months down the road, he's probably got the ceiling and the upside to turn into one of those guys, despite not having that ranking coming out of high school.
William Barger, Crimson Tide insider, former offensive lineman at the University of Alabama. William, it's always good to be able to catch up and talk a little Alabama football with you here in Tuscaloosa. I appreciate the opportunity. Hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Good to catch up with you.
Hey, absolutely. Great to catch up with you as well. William Barger, he's a Crimson Tide insider. He's a guy that always dialed into the Crimson Tide. It's always fun to be able to talk with him. All right, so we've got a few minutes. So if you want to slip in a little prediction, you're welcome to do that. We do that between 2 until 6, but we're doing it today an extra few minutes here on the 6 to 7 Alabama tradition. We've got lines available right now. People struggle every day to get in from 2 until 6. Now's your chance. 205-342-9904. It's Alabama Ole Miss prediction contest presented by Dreamland Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's learning environments are designed for supportive networking and collaboration. With over 330 academic programs, GCU provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Find your purpose at GCU. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
It's awesome. Having no fun. Have some fun, man. Talking Alabama Crimson Tide football on Alabama Tradition with Martin Houston and Ryan Fowler in Tuscaloosa on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Six lanes, tail lights, red ants marching into the night. They disappear to the left and right again. Another supper from a sack, a 99-cent heart attack. I got a pounding head and an aching back, and the camel's buried in a big straw stack. I'm gonna live where the green grass grows, watching my corn pop up in rows. Every night be tucked in close to you.
And it was great to be able to talk to William Barger, offensive lineman at the University of Alabama. And, wow, a lot of fun to be able to talk to Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban, Alabama Ole Miss. Your chance to chime in. Final 19 minutes of the program. If you want to get on the score prediction, I look up and the phone calls are jammed up. So let's get right back to them here. Let's go to Jim. Jim, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan.
How are you, man?
I'm doing great. I'll give you my score real quick and get out of the way.
Okay.
49-35.
Okay, 49-35.
562 yards.
All right. Jim, where are you from?
Tuscaloosa. East Tuscaloosa.
Okay, I just want to write it down here.
Long-time listener and a first-time caller.
Okay. I didn't think I'd ever heard from you, so I just wanted to make sure. 49-35, 562. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Jim in East Tuscaloosa. Let's go 205-342-9904. JJ, Northport. JJ, good afternoon. You're in the game.
How you doing, Ryan? Roll Tide.
Yeah, Roll Tide. It's been a long time.
It has been a while. Your lines stay busy, and must be a reflection of the fact that you've got the most popular sports talk radio in the state.
Well, we have fun. We have fun, man, and I hope that comes across, man. This is my team. I grew up loving this team.
I had fun calling. and telling the screener there about the errors of that John Stallworth wasn't his steer. But he's got an MBA. Anyway,
okay. Yeah, and we didn't know that. So I was going to say that, and we kind of found out. I think Jacob looked up through John Stallworth's Hall of Fame account, and one of the reasons why he didn't go to Alabama is he was forced to play running back in high school, And I don't really know if Coach Bryant evaluated him the same. But he wanted to play wide
Plus,
receiver.
he had a problem with his legs when he was a youngster.
Okay.
Anyway, he overcame that, obviously. But, yeah, I want to give my score 48-36.
48-36, okay. And then Bryce Young, Matt Corral, passing yards combined.
Combined 611.
611. All right. JJ, anything else, man?
No. Hey, you have a great day.
You too. Thank you, JJ. I appreciate you. Let's go from JJ to Matthew. Matthew, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Good afternoon, Ryan. How you doing, man?
Man, it's been a long time.
It's been a while, man. Well, I'll make this quick. I'm a little busy, but I appreciate you letting me call in.
Sure.
Score prediction, I'm going 52-35.
52-35. And then Bryce Young, passing yards with Matt Corral.
Let's go 650.
650. 52-35, 650. You pretty confident?
I'm pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good about it. Maybe Matt Corral has 2 or 3 picks along the way. So,
and that's the thing. I wonder if they'll tease him a little bit, kind of bait him a little bit. Watched Trayvon Diggs do that last night to Jalen and baited him a little bit and kind of teased him. He thought he had something, and he ended up it was not. You almost wonder if they'll do that with Matt Corral, and he might come in here a little bit aggressive. I mean, if you look at Matt Corral, he's kind of a hot head a little bit, and maybe you get a guy like that rattled.
Yeah, he's kind of a fireball, man. You never really know what you're going to get out of him. But I think I think Nick Saban and Pete Golden will come up with a good game plan, and they're gonna throw in some things that maybe Lane Kiffin isn't ready for, maybe their DC isn't ready for, and maybe Malachi Moore might take one to the house for us. So
sure.
Yeah, man.
It'll be a lot.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You have a good one.
Yeah, you do as well. How about Maurice? Maurice, good afternoon. You're in the game. Hey, Maurice. Hey, Maurice.
I don't want to waste too much time. I'll just give you my pick.
All right.
Not going to be popular. I'm going to pick Mississippi 45, Alabama 39.
45.
500.
Okay.
39.
All right. And then total passing yards?
599.
Why do you think Ole Miss is the better team? Just your opinion.
I've just had a bad feeling about them ever since last year, and I don't really think our defense is that much better. They ought to be, but they're not. I don't really think they're that.
Well, on paper they look good, but we've not really been tested. I mean, we made Emory Jones like an All-American quarterback.
Exactly.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think when you look at it,
I hope I'm wrong.
I do too. 45-39, 599. I hope you do. I hope you're wrong as well. So, but I appreciate
Thanks
you.
so much.
Thank you. Maurice. Remember the song? What is it? There's a song that, the guy goes, Maurice. You don't know. I couldn't tell you the name of the. You'd have to Google it or something. I don't know exactly what it is. You need me to break right here, Jacob? Break here? Let me break, and I'll come back, and I'll go to Colorado, as my grandmother used to say. Colorado. We'll go to Wheeling out there. We'll take more calls if you want to do a Dreamland score prediction day. We'll continue with more of the game. Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. By honoring your sacred vocation of business, you impact your family, your friends, and your community. At Grand Canyon University, our MBA degree program is 100% online, with emphases in business analytics and finance to help you reach your goals. Find your purpose at GCU. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon with a good supply of sunshine. Tuscaloosa's high 87. For tonight, the sky clear, the low at 68. Tomorrow and Thursday, partially sunny both days with a chance of isolated showers. Highs between 85 and 88. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 81 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The host of the game, Ryan Fowler, and the host of the Martin Houston Show, Martin Houston, have combined to offer a show filled with in-depth analysis of Alabama football and more. Alabama Tradition broadcasts live on Tide 100.9 every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. and is available live and on playback on numerous affiliates around the Southeast. Check out alabamatradition.com for a list of affiliates, as well as other great content.
This guy, Mr. Chris Stapleton, coming back. You proud of me? Is that Chris Stapleton?
It is, and it's a Metallica cover.
Is it really?
Cover of Nothing Else Matters.
Man, that guy's so talented.
He's one of my favorites. Really and truly.
He is really, really good. I was told that he has a place down in Lower Alabama, down in the Gulf Shores, Baldwin area, Baldwin County. That's what I was told. Now, I don't know how accurate that is. Maybe I hope I've got my information correct, but I just like that twang he brings to it.
Hey, it's real country in 2021. You don't see much of it.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Little twang Tuesday. Let's go to Wheelan out in Colorado, as my grandmother used to say. Wheelan, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan, how you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely. It's good to talk to you. Hope you're doing well, and thank you for calling in. Don't be a stranger.
Hey, doing great. Hey, been a long-time listener in the app and first-time caller. So just want to give my prediction real quick. I think looking for Alabama to go 51-38.
Okay, 51.
Looking for total yards of 707.
Okay, all right.
Looking for 81 and 19 to go off. I think that 12 package is going to go nuts. I think we're going to rip it up over the middle.
Be nice. Let's take advantage of it. I mean, it's a mismatch when you think about it.
Especially when they're both on the field.
Well, and when you look at Billingsley, it just seems like Nick Saban was trying. If you watch Nick Saban for the last 15 years, 14 years, 15 counting this year, when he goes, and I mean this in a nice way, when he goes after a player, he doesn't go after the weak players. He goes after the guys who he knows can take it, and he wants more out of them. And he wants them to take charge of not just leadership, but if he knows he can get more out of you, that's where he's going after. And he went after Billingsley pretty tough. I mean, I heard it for about 4 press conferences in a row, and I'm like, man, I mean, this guy, what did this guy do? And I think it's just simply it's coaching. I mean, that's what a coach is supposed to do. If you're a Hall of Fame player, he gets you beyond that. If you're an All-American, he gets you beyond that. If you're an All-SEC guy, he moves you. That's what a coach is supposed to do, challenge you in the weak spots. And I think Nick Saban has been able to do that. And I get excited about Billingsley.
I agree. Well, roll Tide. I'll let some more guys get in, and looking forward to a great game this weekend.
Thank you. Wheelan out in Colorado. Thank you, man. We appreciate that. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful state that is. Eastern part, western part out towards Utah. Beautiful. You got the Rockies up there. It's the mountain without trees or limited trees, not like we have here on the eastern side of the country. Let's go to Rebecca out in Texas. Rebecca, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Afternoon, yes. I was calling for my husband Harris. We live out in Tyler, Texas.
Sure,
and,
sure.
His prediction here for the game is 48-34. Alabama with
All right.
733 yards.
Okay, I got 733, but I stumbled there. Tell me the prediction again, please.
48-34.
48-34. 48-34. And I'm going to write down Rebecca and Harris in Texas. So, yep. And just in case, because 48-34, 733. Good deal. Good deal. Anything else, Rebecca?
Roll Tide.
Hey, Roll Tide. Thank you, Rebecca. Harris from time to time will call in, and Rebecca is able to get her husband's score in. And we don't take duplicate scores. That's just one score, so 48-34 there. So when just one caller calling in. But Harris is the guy that usually calls us, and Rebecca having to call in a score. We're going to get out of here. I remind you, tomorrow morning, Martin Houston, 6 a.m., Wimpton-Berry at 7, Gary Harris at 9, and then Jacob Harrison off the edge at 11 a.m. here in Tuscaloosa. Jay Barker, Lars Anderson, 12 until 2. We do it every single day from 2 until 6. Got a big show lined up for you. We'll do Chris Landry tomorrow. I got another big guest that we're going to talk about. We'll get you ready for this Alabama-Ole Miss game. And you guys have an amazing night. Roll Tide to you. We thank our law enforcement officers, EMTs, first responders, firefighters. You guys are incredible. We don't say thank you enough. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Good night, T-Town.